Are we killing ourselves with plastic? Welcome to Mark and Pete. Here's a thought.
A few throwaway lines. A wasteful woman called Polly was unclean, where her recycling habits were obscene. She was enthusiastic about everything plastic and never considered going green. However, Polly then became far too keen, and she consumed like an infernal machine. But things got drastic, and she became elastic. Now she's known as polyethylene. Indeed. Well, are we too reliant on plastic? Yes, this is the scourge of many environmentalists. Now, it seems that the head of the Friends of the Earth International has said the damage from plastics is irreversible. What's remarkable here is that once fragmented into microplastics, it pollutes all of the ecosystem, including the oceans and indeed the air that we breathe. And there's no way potentially for us to recover from them. What's also statistically a real concern is that people are now starting to see that things like bottled water, which you would think would now be more consumed in glass, glass only represents 2.3% of bottled water. That is a very low statistic.
Yeah.
So we are now seeing a boom in plastics. Now, here's one stat for you, folks. The US alone produces 50 billion plastic water bottles every year. Yes, that's right, folks.
Yeah.
And that is a staggering amount. Clergyman Pete, I ask you, I had a little story about Polly. Are we all becoming polyethylene addicts?
Well, it does seem that we're using an awful lot of this plastic, and there are various problems that people point out with the plastic that's used for water bottles, because one thing is that, well, in making that sort of plastic, you use water. In fact, you probably use more water to make the plastic than you actually have in it.
Indeed.
And so, it's already you think, well, it's not. There's something wrong. Something doesn't quite add up. It takes a lot of energy to make it. It's of course a problem that it then cannot be disposed of and be renewable. You can't dispose of it safely, get it to be decayed down to something that isn't going to cause a pollution problem. And we see plastics filling up the ocean. Now, I've seen reports that in fact it's exaggerated what the effect has been so far, but we're talking about an increase. And so if we're going to look to the future, we're going to take this very seriously. And I would say this very simple thing. Instead of using something that isn't even renewable, use the container that is made of something that's reusable. An example would be glass, which you were talking about earlier. Glass bottles, you simply wash them, or if you then want to reuse them in maybe a bottle of a different shape or whatever, you just melt it down and remake it into a glass bottle. So what you have there is something that's reusable, and reusable is better than renewable because it doesn't take so much energy to make something new out of it. So I think that we've gone down the easy route. It's easy to mass produce this and not thought about the impact on the environment, despite the fact that the green lobby seems to be the most powerful lobby that we have. How has this happened? I don't know.
Well, indeed. Now, I'm going to offer one suggestion here, which is, yes, folks, another stat. Now, from a commercial perspective, we all can see the benefits of being much more green, recycling. Many organizations have tried to do this, not just with bottled water, but, in areas like coffee, you can have a discount if you go to the counter, you take your own cup, receptacle, and that will give you the chance to recycle. So you're effectively not wasting products and using plastics in a way that is just going to get into landfill or sadly into our ecosystem. But here's the thing. We are driven by consumerism. And what's interesting is that the global bottled water sector has seen a boom with revenues staggeringly of $324.4 billion. That's 266 billion pounds at a reasonable exchange rate in the last year alone. So what it means is that we're sort of being a bit lazy still. Despite all, as you say, all the protests, the lobbying, the groups, the governments, even businesses, it just seems that as consumers, we haven't changed our habits. So I think that what's interesting as well, and I know that you're a penchant for sparkling fizzy water, that sales has more than doubled in the last year as well.
Yeah.
So I think that what it is that as a consumer, we seem to be not really listening to what we've been told by environmentalists or governments. Now, what does it take then for us to change? Is there something maybe that the manufacturers have to help work with governments to find innovation, where they look at products, they look at the materials that they use? And this is definitely happening. We know this. But the problem is that not many people want to turn to traditional methods like glass. Let's be honest, glass is heavy, not so easy in terms of carrying it about. But ironically, we used to do that in the dim and distant past. But for some reason, we just like the throwaway society. And I think economics drive it.
In a way, a lot of this is just simply you do what you do. When the momentum had changed away from glass, then we were using plastic. Had we stayed with glass, I'm sure they would have developed it such that it could be lighter, and it was already being developed. Milk bottles used to be very heavy, thick glass, and they developed ways of making the glass lighter by making it thinner. So I think if we move back to it, there would eventually be developments, but they're not there at the moment. So what is the answer? Well, the answer would be to put more of an emphasis on this. I said earlier that the green lobby is very powerful, but I think the reason that it's not being effective in this area is it's concentrating so much on things like net zero and the supposed effect of greenhouse gases on global warming. Now, whatever you think about that, the global warming is not going to be the sort of catastrophic disaster that's being touted by them, not even by those who put forward the worst case scenario. They're only saying a few degrees rise by the end of the century, and it's been hotter before. It would be good for the planet. So rather than simply, let's just simply prepare to live in a warmer climate planet, and get on with our lives. We've got all this running about trying to cope with it, trying to stop it, believing that the world's going to come to an end. And then with that big story taking center stage, it seems almost impossible to get people to take seriously. And make sure you don't throw too much plastic in the ocean. It just seems such a small thing in comparison. And I think that's the problem. The focus should be the other way around.
Well, there's also
this is the important one.
Well, the other thing is that I know that standards do vary, but I will say that the infrastructure that we see in all countries through our own systems of water providers has improved. But one of the challenges is that the Vice President of Communications for the US-based International Bottled Water Association says that for many people, bottled water is a health necessity. And yet, many others do believe that actually just drinking straight from the tap from your home is equally as healthy. But yet we perceive that buying bottled water is actually better for you. So this is, again, making a clear differential that if there's any added products, ingredients, or additives, or vitamins. This is just pure water in itself. So I think that what's happened is commercially that I'll give people big credit that some manufacturers in their bottled water products have sold the benefits and the health benefits very well, especially through spring water. We do know that there are minerals within spring water and there is a health benefit to that. But maybe we've gone so far now, too far, where unfortunately the the consequence to this is that we are just generating far too much plastic. Well, I suppose really, Clergyman Pete, we should just ask our listeners, what are they doing? I mean, we want people to still hydrate themselves, keep themselves healthy, but what are their habits?
Yes, what are your habits? You can tell us. Yeah, let us know in the comments below. You simply, to get to this episode, to be able to comment, you just simply go to markandpete.com. Make sure you're subscribed, and you can leave a comment below on this and then on any episode. So that's it for this week. Make sure you leave a comment and make sure you're subscribed. And Mark and I will see you in the next one.